Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. and at this time I open up the floor to public comments. There are none. Thank you. Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, and I'll call on Commissioner Eichelberger for employee recognition of the sheriff's deputies and security staff. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, very good. I think everybody knows we've been trying to be very cognizant of the extra efforts that have been put in over the past year plus in response to the COVID pandemic. And last week we had some special thanks for the public safety people. We'd certainly be remiss if we didn't recognize the incredible work that was done by our sheriff's office during this time, especially when we chose to close the building to our buildings, all the buildings too, and make them appointment only in order to protect the public and the employee base. It was last November 30th, in an effort to slow down the spread of COVID-19, changed operations, and then just 2 weeks ago opened the doors again to facilities for residents with or without appointments. At that time, the number of cases was escalating. We took these measures and we took them very seriously, and we did so to help residents and employees to keep them safe. It was a unique time. It required certainly unique responses, and we've tried to be responsible despite some of the public clamor in regards to what steps are needed or what steps were not needed. So the Sheriff's Office played a really vital role in our effort to keep our public and our employees safe, and we wanted to recognize that and to thank them for that. There was a lot of extra work involved in that, including the assisting residents with appointments when we were on appointment only, helping connect individuals with proper departments, and calling the departments to ensure that appointments were available. So just a lot of, dare I say, grunt work, but it was very important work, and it helped us as a county government continue to emphasize serving our citizens and doing the things that we're to do, and to make sure that we are meeting public needs. And as a lot of people will use the phrase "we're all in this together," and that's definitely been true in terms of the COVID pandemic. So probably no other office, I think, exemplified the "let's get it done, let's do what we have to do" better than our sheriff's office. And the sheriff and the chief deputy are here, and we just wanted to extend our thanks and acknowledge your role in that, and note that we're, of course, not out of this yet, but we do see light at the end of the tunnel, and we're all looking forward to taking these off. So I'll have to be a little more careful with shaving those once we do that, though, of course. And Vince promises he'll brush his teeth from now on as well. So, but it's been a unique time, and it did certainly require unique responses and require people to step up to the plate. And we certainly thank you for that. I'm sorry we don't have any fancy certificate or anything for you, but we may remedy that at another time, because we certainly want to. We're all going to remember COVID, but we want to remember that people rose to the occasion as well. So that's worth noting and marking. So on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, really pleased to be able to thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you, and our security department really stepped up as well to that too. And like you said, it was unique. A lot of lessons learned over the past year and a half. With the security for elections last year, which was definitely an odd fellow for everyone, and then of course security, the vaccination site, and it's. I mean, our deputies and security staff, they were tasked with a lot of things they haven't been tasked with in the past. So I'm very proud of them, and they stepped up and did a very fine job.
Great. Jody, anything to add?
No, I think the sheriff covered it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I'm glad you did point out too that there were remarkable needs deputies last year, particularly with the election, which is already going to be a difficult situation. COVID certainly made it that much more difficult. And of course, the vaccination site's another extraordinary effort. So security's role in that is greatly appreciated. And I'm glad you took the opportunity to acknowledge that role specifically. So, any other comments, questions, Mary, anybody?
I just want to add, I just find that the deputies and the security staff really handled things with unbelievable grace. There was more than one time that I was at the front door and people were very angry that they weren't allowed in or that they were being asked, do you have an appointment? And they really handled things gracefully and very professionally. And I love knowing that we have deputies and security here and that they're ready to go whenever we need them. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, just two things you've already touched on. The 2020 general election was just a fiasco. But when I was at the Bureau of Elections during the process, I don't remember the names of the deputies. All I do know is that they were very professional, very helpful, and people walked out of there smiling, you know, and hearing from some of the clowns in both major parties that there's fraud going on and crap like that. You know, you guys really helped out to show that there wasn't. And I had my COVID vaccine at the location there at the U-Haul. Again, deputies were there to just make sure there was no craziness, which there wasn't. So definitely a unique year. I hope we never have to do it again, but it's good to know that if we do have to do it again, we can. Thank you.
We've got Dennis here in case you want to do
Okay.
Do we want to do a picture? And then, yeah, we can do a picture. You guys want to stand maybe up front here? In
front of the-
Yeah, right in front of there. That way we can get everybody in.
Just be careful stepping on the carpet. It's not fixed.
If I can just, if you can take one more step. Perfect.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, gotta turn it on for it to work.
Don't forget to smile.
Gotta take a couple. Alright. Very good.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Alright, so we'll move on then to agenda item number 4, which is a recommendation to nominate Catherine Law, the Public Defender Office, to participate in the 2021-2022 Leadership Cumberland Fellows Program. That program is designed to develop, promote, and inspire community-based leadership skills. And Catherine would put good use to those skills in the Public Defender Office. She's already taken a leadership role in that department. And I also just wanted to mention that that spot is actually held. So Leadership Cumberland holds one spot for us each year to fill as we choose, rather than having that individual go through the full application process. Are there any questions?
How long has she been with us?
She has been with us for,
Since 2015.
thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
It's been a while since I had the information put together.
Any questions?
No, I
All right, we'll move on then to agenda item number 5, and I'll call on Mary Kuna to discuss the amended and restated cooperation agreement between Cumberland County and the Redevelopment Authority related to redevelopment assistance capital program. Mary?
Good morning, everyone. So there are, and basically I'll just go over both agreements.
That's fine.
Okay, so in 2013, Carlisle Auto Industries and their associates basically acquired the IAC site here in the borough of Carlisle. And as part of that, they pursued a Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant. They received 2 separate awards. So they received $2 million and then another $500,000. Part of the RACP requirements, the county, I believe, was the applicant, and our agency would be the one administering the RACP on behalf of Carlisle Auto Industries. So the Office of the Budget requires basically these cooperation agreements between all parties. So the first agreement that you see is a cooperation agreement between the county, who is the applicant, and the Redevelopment Authority, who is administering. And then the second agreement is between the county and Carlisle Auto Industries and their affiliates, essentially. So those agreements basically lay out what each party is doing. These are amended so that they include both awards for a total of the $2,500,000. So that would be what the agreements are. They're just required by the Office of the Budget, and they lay out where the county is indemnified, but they have to be 2 separate agreements, one between the authority and the county, the other between basically the private owner and the county. So that's what you have before you. It's just taking both agreements and putting them both awards and putting them together to amend that. So from what I know right now, there's probably just one more submission they have with the state next month, and I think they should be good with the project, at least from the Office of the Budget side. So I can answer any questions if you have them. It's just a very procedural thing between what's required from all 3 parties.
No question.
And thank you very much, Mary. All right, so we've already covered agenda item 6, so we'll move on to agenda item 7. And I'll call on Tammy Bender to discuss the 2021-2022 fiscal budget. Tammy?
Good morning, Commissioners. Finance is requesting approval of the fiscal 2021-2022 budget. It is a total revenue budget of $57,865,075 and a total expense budget of $57,925,904. In this fiscal budget, grants make up 79% of the revenues, subsidy about 12%, and other revenues are about 8%. Is there any questions?
All right, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
I'll now call on Tammy Hershey to discuss agenda item number 8, which is contracts and grants. Tammy?
Thank you, Stacy. Agenda item number 8 is contracts and grants. Agenda item 8.1, A through C consists of existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county for the following departments: Children and Youth, District Attorney, Liquid Fuels Finance. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding these agreements?
No.
Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item 8.2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases, decreases to the county. I will call on Kim Bittner to discuss the contracts for aging and community services. Kim?
Hi, good morning. These are 3-year agreements with the 9 food pantries to distribute food in Cumberland County. There are 8 pantries that we had previous agreements with, and we have 1 new agreement with New Hope Ministries due to them opening a new pantry in Enola. We allocate funds from the state food purchase program, and that's with Central Pennsylvania Food Bank for them to purchase food to distribute. And then we also, with this agreement, we distribute food product monthly to the pantries through the temporary food assistance program, emergency food assistance program. Any questions?
Nothing? All right, thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Jamie Riber to discuss the contracts for children and youth. Sorry about that, Jamie.
That's okay, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I have 3 contracts today. The first one is our Evenco International contract. This is our statewide used system for case management. The costs are set by CCAP and approved by OCYF, and they're split amongst the counties. We actually did have a decrease to our not to exceed amount for ad hoc services from, sorry, I'm looking at the numbers here. It was 24,000, I believe last, or I'm sorry, 22,489 last year, be 22,000 this year, or 20,000 this year. The rest of the numbers are staying the same for this contract. The next contract is Family Care Services. They are one of our foster care providers. They are requesting increases to their 5 programs that range from 1.92% to 8.83%. Their rates are all very low actually for their services, and they are planning to give a 2% increase to their foster parent per diems during this contract period. The last contract that we're putting on is a new contract with Hugh Smith and Associates. We have previously contracted with a psychologist who assesses our emotional abuse cases and meets with the client and tries to determine if we can in fact indicate someone for emotional abuse. We are going to contract with all of the services that Hugh Smith and Associates provides. However, the one that we will be using the most is the forensic psychological evaluation, which is $400 per evaluation. And again, this is what we use in order to be able to indicate when there's an alleged emotional abuse situation.
Commissioners, any questions?
I'm good.
No, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll call on Melissa Smith to discuss the grant for CNRC. Melissa?
Good morning. This is a grant for $3,090 being provided by the Partnership for Better Health. It is to purchase a driving simulator, a flight simulator, and a bike simulator to go with our interactive computer system that we bought back in December. It's called It's Never Too Late. There are some report requirements, just letting you know how the residents are doing with the project, and they are asking for pictures of the devices being used as well. And they ask that the money be spent before the end of July, and I need to file a report with them by the end of August. And the paperwork's in front of you that is requiring signature before they will forward the funds to us. Any questions or concerns?
Okay.
Other than the reporting requirements, were there any other expectations set forward for our acceptance of this?
No, just that we spend the money on what we say we're going to, which will provide them documentation of it.
Okay, that's certainly reasonable. And nothing.
Nothing more? Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
I will call on Sue Carbo to discuss the contracts for early intervention and intellectual and development disabilities for year 2021. Sue?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So the first contract is for early interventions. It's aspirations. It is an addendum to their contract this year with an increase of $30,630. They provide evaluations for us, occupation, physical and speech therapy, social work services, and also special instruction. The addendum is because of a request for additional services for the children. For the intellectual and developmental disabilities contract, Bloom Human Services is a new provider for us. So it's a new contract in the amount of $2,735, and they will be providing companion services. We have a consumer who is requesting to use this provider, so we are contracting with them for the first time. Any questions?
Thank you, Sue. Next, Kirk Stoner will discuss the contracts for the planning department. Kirk?
Sure, Commissioners, the first contract is with Monroe Township. This is for their Cumberland Plans grant application for $15,000 to update their zoning ordinance. The grant itself was approved at a previous meeting. This is the contract paperwork that would require our execution. No questions on that one. Next one is the Shippensburg University of Pennsylvania. This is actually an agreement with Shippensburg University, an agreement between the county and the university to provide internships and set expectations for internships. Why it's coming through the planning department at this phase is because we've requested an intern, which was approved at the previous salary board meeting for the planning department. So this agreement actually covers all interns for the county, but I think since we were first in working with Shippensburg University, we were the first to be required to sign on to this agreement.
Kirk, this doesn't preclude us from getting interns anywhere else, does it?
No, Gary, this is just if we have interns from Shippensburg, that we have to, comply with this agreement.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Thank you, Kirk.
Okay, so those are all of the contracts and grants, so we'll move on then to agenda item number 9. And I'll call on Kirk Stoner again to discuss the Cumberland Plans grant application for South Middleton Township. Kirk?
Sure, thank you, Stacy. Commissioners, as you're aware, we have our Cumberland Plans grant program that provides funding assistance for county and municipal projects that are consistent with our county comprehensive plan. We received a grant application from South Middleton Township to evaluate economic and land use opportunities associated with the Carlisle Airport. As you all know, Carlisle Airport is the final remaining airport located in Cumberland County. Our comprehensive plan calls it out as an important asset to the county. The township is evaluating purchasing the airport. We're actually in the due diligence period of that purchase. With the Cumberland Plans grant application, they want to look at the land use issues surrounding the airport. There's roadway and infrastructure issues. There's overlay zoning district that they'd like to look at. And there's also zoning implications with surrounding properties where they may be able to spur some economic development with that. The Planning Grants Committee for the Planning Commission looked at it, recommended approval to the Planning Commission. Likewise, the Planning Commission at their meeting last week recommended approval back to the Board of Commissioners. I do see Corey Adams, manager from South Middleton Township, is on the line today. Corey, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add.
No, thank you, Kirk. You did a phenomenal job giving the synopsis of what we're looking to do. Just if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
And for the record, the request to the Cumberland Plans grant program is $15,000, and that will be matched with local cash of $21,300 for a total project cost of $36,300.
Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yep.
Agenda item number 10 is discussion of capital project requests, and I'll actually call on Jason Vierel, who is here with us in the room, to discuss 2 capital project requests for the Sheriff's Department. Jason?
Okay. The first request is the purchase of 1 vehicle pursuant to the contract between Big Spring School District and the County of Cumberland and the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office. This vehicle will be utilized by our SRO assigned to Big Spring School District, and the purchase will be reimbursed to the County of Cumberland as per the contract that was signed. The total project cost is $53,800.
I do have a question. I actually know the answer, but I feel like it's important for the commissioners to hear this.
Sure.
Will other costs be reimbursed over time? Maintenance of the vehicle, so on and so forth? Will that be paid by the school district?
Yes, any maintenance that is done by our garage will be invoiced to Big Spring School District to pay for any maintenance and upkeep of that vehicle.
Any questions on that first? I don't know.
I don't know, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Good job, thank you. Okay, the second request is to replace 2 of our current vehicles that we have with 2 comparable vehicles. The 2 replacements are 2010 Ford Explorers. Both of them have over 170,000 miles on them. and we plan to either trade them in or do a municipal bid on those two vehicles. The two vehicles, total project cost is $110,400.
Any questions on that? I will note that John Locke reviewed that, asked several questions, was satisfied with the answers, and John actually provided the entire capital projects review committee with the exhaustive maintenance history on both vehicles. I did spend probably more time than I would ever want to looking through both of those vehicle histories, and they were both maintained as needed. I really did kind of go like oil change to oil change and kind of give a quick review of it, and they were well cared for vehicles.
And I'm sorry, I will add that we were gonna do this request last year, but we kind of skipped it due to COVID, because our mileage was down. Of course, we didn't go on as many trips, but this plan was for last year, so we decided to skip last year's request for any vehicle replacements and moved to this year. So our 5-year plan has kind of backed up, so.
Any questions for Jason about the second request? Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Agenda item number 11 is Commissioner's Liaison Reports, and I'll start by calling on Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just a couple of items. A summary from Justin. I was unable to attend the recycling committee meeting, but they had a pretty light agenda anyhow. And just real quick, they had discussion in regards to our management initiative on paper shredding by volume to bring down our cost and of handling all the paper that comes out of this place in our new paperless society. And, Judd's been doing some work on that, and he showed, he was showing the group that there's pretty extraordinary savings possible. So it's, certainly not a sexy initiative, as government stuff goes, but it certainly addresses our operational costs,
That one gave me the church giggle, sorry. Back under control.
But, it's operational stuff, and it certainly excites us to save the kind of money that we have the potential here, so kudos to management for pursuing something that's not necessarily high profile, but that is definitely high impact. So he also just wanted to give me a heads up, and I'll pass it around, that they're going to be bringing us a proposal in regards to upgrading the facility for the recycling. So that's, their needs are increasing, and especially if we undertake the paper and some other things, it just might be the right time to start looking at something like permanent drop-off centers for the household hazardous waste. And that's an evolving market, and our practices and facilities to support those practices probably need to evolve with it. So he promised, his words are that they're going to work me over pretty good on this. So I just wanted to pass that along and let you all know if I don't come to a meeting unexpectedly, you can look for me in the back alley or laying on the floor, presumably. But that's all I have for recycling. Real quick, the MHIDD meeting, a lot of discussion here. This is not surprising, but it is troubling, is we're reaching a very critical level in terms of the inability to find staffing to provide these very basic services in our rapidly growing community. That includes, obviously, more need for mental health services. So we have providers that are struggling to hire and retain qualified staff. Some of this too is related to the essentially flat, or in real terms declining pay scales that have been out there for what is difficult work and challenging work, particularly challenging in the past 12 to 15 months. So they've seen a 13% increase in individuals requiring services this year, receiving services. And the crisis numbers, it's a classification, have increased substantially. I don't have a figure on that, but I'm sure they're not overstating that at all. So the hiring crisis there is really starting to have a bottom line impact on people and on the mission of our mental health folks. So they have asked Department of Human Services to expand their crisis category with the use of some federal funds. We're waiting to hear on that. This sentiment is also echoed over on the IDD side, that they just cannot get providers in the residential daycare or day program, in-home supports, or nursing, and they just cannot find experienced staff willing to sign on. And Annie was mentioning here that one of the residential providers has 56 staff vacancies right now. That's just one provider, and they're certainly trying to meet the basic need and continue. They've done a bunch of contingency planning, some of which she outlines here is pretty standard stuff, but they're trying to make do in a bad situation. And I don't presume to know the drivers on that. We've heard a lot of discussion in regards to employment numbers and such money that's out there. But I think the problem actually runs quite a bit deeper. In some degrees, it's a reflection. I just want to editorialize on this for a second. It's a reflection of the worker shortage that we're experiencing, certainly nationwide and statewide, but particularly acute here. We continue to have one of the very lowest unemployment rates historically in Pennsylvania. Finding workforce is very difficult. It's one of the reasons that we tasked CADIC with addressing the workforce development issue. And I think we can truly become a leader statewide if we continue to make progress and lead on that issue. The time is right for it. The need is definitely there. And I am hoping that we can persuade CADIC to perhaps redouble their efforts, as it were, to address that issue effectively, because it's not just a matter of finding widget makers. This is affecting us right down to the most basic levels of quality of life in our communities. We simply have to have a workforce. Even if we are an aging population, there's a support network out there through our economy that needs to be fed. And right now, there's a severe need there that could get much worse. So I'll get off the soapbox now. And I think this just illustrates a bigger problem, but it is an excellent illustration of how profound that problem can become. It isn't the case of manufacturers. They will just locate somewhere else, and that's a loss to us as well. These are human needs that exist in our community, are going to continue to exist in our community. In fact, are going to expand and grow in our community over time. So this is something we have to pay attention to and have to get our hands around it and actively address. So but that's everything I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Berger. Commissioner Fauci.
I don't have much. I would remind everyone to use the library, especially as we're headed into the end of the school year, and reading over the summer really helps kids to retain what they learned in the year prior and to advance as they head into the next year. So using the library is great, and they have fabulous reading programs. They give you the opportunity to win some prizes, which is always pretty cool. So I would remind people to do that. I had the opportunity to participate in the Penn State Extension's watershed event that happened at the Latort Park. Wow, was it great. Really, really knowledgeable watershed masters that took a group of us through that park, and they had sifted through the silt and the dirt and the streams, and we dug through all those things to look at what lives there, what is living there, and then how that, if you live there, what is the level of pollution in the water. It was really, really educational for me. So I would encourage people too to take advantage of those opportunities, because it was inexpensive. It was $5, and it really was a good 2 hours spent. So that's what I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Fauci. Commissioner DeFilippo.
Thanks, Stacy. May 19th, I attended and actually moderated the Cumberland County Water Forum. Commissioner Fauci was also in attendance. This was a virtual event. And the event was really for anyone who wanted to learn about the importance of water in Cumberland County and how municipal governments and others are working to protect this natural resource. The speakers discussed how clean, abundant water benefits our county residents and businesses, and outlined ongoing work to protect surface water and groundwater quality and quantity. The program also highlighted key programs keeping pollutants out of our streams, including the recently approved countywide action plan and related planning. This event was put together by a number of partners, which included the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, CADIC, Cumberland County Collaborative, Cumberland County Conservation District, Cumberland County Planning Department, PA Department of Natural Resources, PA American Water, our Cumberland County Penn State Extension, South Mountain Partnership, and the Susquehanna River Basin Commission. Also attended a virtual meeting for the Cumberland York Local Defense Group. That was also on May 19th. It was mainly a presentation from the Defense Logistics Agency regarding what they are doing here in Cumberland County, more of an update. There was no discussion or mention of any base realignment or closure, which is good news. And on May 17th, CapCog met. The main part of the meeting was a presentation from Darwood Engineering regarding economic development impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic and the role of local governments. And there was also a moment of silence observed to honor Mark Ryder, who had passed away a few weeks ago. Mark had been sick for quite some time. Mark was a longtime servant to his community fire department and CapCog, and was the CapCog's vice president. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Call.
Sure.
I would like to report that executive sessions were held on May 17, 2021 at 1 p.m. and May 26, 2021 at 9:30 a.m., both regarding personnel. Is there any additional business that needs to come before the board today?